And, you mentioned the term realist. And when it comes to you and how you portray yourself and how you present yourself, you're not afraid to not only be yourself, but even to be wrong. So whether it's a prediction, it's definitely so you have your own like YouTube stream of things like this is when the things that Adam Rank got incorrect, but you always own it. So where does that come from?
I mean, you want to be authentic and you want to be able to go out there and admit like it's out there in the world. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's kind of like when you're doing stand-up comedy, like immediately whether something's funny or not. And like if people aren't laughing, you can't fake it and be like, no, that was funny, and like try to explain the joke or anything like that. Similarly, when you go out there and do these predictions, like you have to wear it. And one of the things that really caught fire with me was that a lot of times in like Total Access would go out there and they would have David Carr and Baldinger and M-Rob and those guys do predictions, but they would do like one division a day. And then like you could get away with like having records that don't make sense. I go through and predict every game. And so if somebody is going to go 13-4, somebody's going to have a bad record. So it's the accountability of just being like, oh, like, some people could just go out there and predict everybody to go 10-7. And then the math doesn't add up and you're like, there's no accountability. So I will embrace the accountability. And there are times where it goes horribly wrong. Anybody who lives in the Bay Area remembers a couple of years ago with the 49ers. This season, it was the Cleveland Browns, who I had it as a 6-10 team, 6-11. They were 11-6. It was the exact opposite. And it's funny because when you put out these predictions, the fans of the team that you are not as hyper about will come after you. And the Browns fans were like, how did you, or even going back in hindsight, and they're like, how did you look at this roster and think that this team wasn't going to win this amount of games? And you're like, okay, you know who else said that? The Titans said that. The Commanders said that. Both those teams were brutal. And the Browns got away with it because of the way that their team was constructed. Like, and I'm getting too in the weeds. So, but I think it's important to be like, yeah, you can see it. Like I'll own it. And it's like, at the same time, like I was wrong. Like, okay, like it happens. Like, I know some people don't like to go back. And again, it goes back to, we had these older consultants who used to work for us that were always like, you know what? Never look back. Just always look forward. You don't have to go back and own your mistakes. And I'm like, that's some of the dumbest advice I've ever heard, because people will give up on you and they'll do their thing. And I know like some fan bases think like Rank's always wrong, but there are some fan bases who are like, this guy's always on. Cause I've been, especially in the playoffs, because I do pretty well. And there are people like, oh, this guy knows. And it's funny the way that breaks out. And you got to just take the good with the bad. If you want to celebrate the good, like if you want to sit here, because I'll put it out on IG and stuff like that, like crow a little bit when I nail some of these picks, and people are like, oh, look at you. I'm like, I will also respond to when I'm wrong. So I'm going to take my victory lap when I get it. But also to do that, you got to be able to wear it when you get one wrong.